Now, it's one thing to know, like once you know and the person breaks it down, presents it, understands it, for you to go and do it anyway, now you're at an insult to injury. I'd rather you be up straight up and say, well, I heard what you said and I get it. I understand that's your perspective, that's your opinion. I don't do it. Why those things? And I'm going to need you to grow in that area because I'm probably not going to make a change in that area. Good evening, Thomas. How are you tonight?
What's up? I am I am driving hard.
Driving.
Awesome.
I'm driving hard.
Oh, home. Driving home. Okay. The Wizard of
No, I said driving hard.
Oh, driving hard.
I'm driving home, but I
Driving.
am driving hard.
Oh,
well, I was about
awesome.
to say
I'm
the
hard
Wizard
at
of
driving.
Oz. I was about to say the Wizard of Oz, but now we see you, so it's great.
So we're talking about better and stronger tonight, life after heartbreak or tragedy or death. Better and stronger. What does that mean, better and stronger? So there's nothing like pain or adversity that will actually get you to transition to becoming different in a lot of ways. Last week when we had the beautiful Kira on, she had mentioned that her life was better, even though it was from tragedy where her father passed away, but it gave her another identity or to discover that she had strengths and talents and gifts that she didn't know she had until those things were brought out from the pain. So she became the phoenix rising from the ashes to discover the journey that she is on today. So, most people, when they love hard, they go all in. They go for broke, as they say. And I believe that's how you should always do. And then, of course, the older you get, the more experience you get, the more guardrailed and guarded you become. But don't ever lose that part of yourself, because the better and stronger it comes from when you stop resisting the changes that are taking place, or the change that is taking place in you. And when you're on the other side from a healed place, you will discover that better and stronger were the results. So talk to us, Dr. Jabril, of your past relationships. That you're a happily married man now, but you've obviously gone through a few situations and circumstances in relationships that, they teach you more about yourself, even though you're focused on the other person. So what would you say have been like your top 1 to 3 lessons that you learned from the ending of a relationship than you did in a relationship?
Oh, sure. Well, one thing I would say that holds is, I'd say the 3 C's. I like to break things down into threes. One thing is confidence. You got to have confidence within first. And if you don't have confidence in who you are, and you're going to be a leader in a relationship or any type of friendship or a team or a group, you have to have confidence that you're the right person and that you belong. And I think that a lot of times if we don't have confidence, we'll go this way or that way or try to please others and not stay strong to how we feel about things. So confidence is very key. Another thing is key is communication. Communication. And when you have that communication, it leads to the 3rd C, which is collaboration, working together, not competing with each other, but collaborate. And so if you don't have the confidence, sometimes you won't understand your position or feel threatened by the other person's, and you don't communicate each other's value or role and validate them and help them and cheer them on, then you won't be able to collaborate, which ends into a lot of disaster. So those are the 3 things that I've learned. And really, when you think about those things, you need to have them within first. So meaning the relationship you have with yourself and God. So you'd have to have that confidence to believe in God or higher power and believe that you're more than enough and that you're getting better by the day. The second is communication with our Father and that relationship, Him. and yourself. This negative self-talk and all of that, get rid of that and give yourself I am statements, great statements. And the third thing again is collaboration. Partnering up with the best business partner you could possibly think of is God. And you do that, it shows you will attract people, not just in a marriage, but on a team, anyone that you're working with, by just having those three key things. But it all starts with yourself.
Absolutely. Wonderful. What about you, Thomas? I mean, you've been happily married for like 30 years or so. More than
Praise
that, I
the
believe.
Lord. Hallelujah.
But what were
So,
three things that you think, looking back, and you might have learned these probably in the 30 years in your marriage, maybe. What were you
but
thinking
you
of the
know,
top things you learned, either heartbreak or just submission within that relationship to continue for it to be successful?
so and so I agree with Jabril from the point of those three C's are very important. Even from the point of communication with once the breakup happens, you have to be confident in yourself that, and I always tell people in any marriage or in relationship. So let me change that. In a marriage, you give all you can. You do everything you can to make that marriage work. You work through so that when you walk away, you can walk away. Erica, you've heard me say that. When you walk away, you can walk away knowing that I've done all I can do. There's nothing more I can do that's not gonna hurt me. And you have to make sure that you've done that so that you can check all the boxes and you're confident that you have done all that you can. Now, in a relationship, it's totally different. So the challenge with relationships, people invest too much. Before, people didn't invest so much because they didn't live together. They didn't try to get people to pay their bills. They weren't paying nobody else's bills. Everybody stood on their own 2 feet until they came together. And when they came together, that's when that man took that woman and started paying everything and doing everything. And that woman, she might have asked the man for something on a little while, but it wasn't that she was dependent on him. She could walk away at any time. But many times in relationships today, they invest too much. So that collaboration and communications and that confidence has to be a part, because the challenge becomes is that even though you put your big investment out there, you're also putting that target out there because you're showing them where your weaknesses are. You're showing them where everything is, and they can start tearing you down. They can start breaking you down because you've exposed yourself. You became exposed. Whereas, so as we're looking at when we're coming out of that breakup, now you have to recover stuff that didn't need to be recovered and reclaim stuff like we talked about last week. You got to reclaim stuff that shouldn't have to be reclaimed. You have to reclaim your independence. You have to reclaim your self-worth because you're giving that person, male or female, you're giving them the opportunity to de-dress you, to decloak you, to understand where your bones are and be able to pull the bones out of your closet that you got a key to. You done gave them the keys to everything. Keys to your car, keys to your finances, keys to your heart, and you ain't even got a marriage thing yet. So when it's broke up, guess what? You got to reclaim all that crap. I mean, not crap, but you know what I'm saying. You have to reclaim all of that stuff and make it yours again because they got it and made toys out of it. That's why, people used to say, I'm living the dream. I'm like, make sure it's your dream. Because if it ain't your dream, it might be your nightmare and somebody else's good time. And so we invest too much. So when we're looking at breakup, we have to reclaim all of that. That's part of that knowing yourself that Jabril talked about. Reclaiming who you are, reclaiming everything that was you and is you. And if there's trash out there from the other party or trash out there, you got to know what's real and what's not. Then that's that communication. You have to communicate. You have to seek God, and I'm going to wrap this around as a real deal, but I'm going to wrap it. You have to seek God for what you communicate to your new partner, because some things you don't need to communicate until later on. Some other things you can say, hey, I've come out of our relationship. I am working through issues, but you don't have to tell them what those issues are. You say, I will let those issues, as we grow this relationship, I will let you know what those issues are if there needs to be. But that communication of when they work on those zones, because for me, one of the biggest things that I think is wrong is when you have had trauma outside of from previous relationships, and then the person does something in your current relationship that brings back a memory, a flashback, and you shut down on them. That's not fair to that person, because you're remembering your past, but now this person who has no clue of what's going on has now walked into a ticking time bomb where you're going off on him, or she's going off on, you're going off on her about something that she has done lovingly, but you're taking it totally in the other direction when that's not what they meant it to be. So you got those kind of things that you have to communicate about. And, and that is that collaboration. And that's always, you have to grow. Two becomes one. And that two becomes one. That collaboration is a collaboration of where you have been, where you are, and where you're going. You have to collaborate that. You have to collaborate those efforts. Many times I've heard people say, well, we just see where we go from here. Oh, heck to the no. That don't work. You can't just see where it goes because you have no expectation. And then if the man turns around and says, I want to get married, or the woman says, I want to get married, and you sit there, we are having a good time. That's because you already you didn't do no expectation management. There was no collaboration on where your end results are going. And one thing, Erica, I'm going to throw you under the bus over here.
Oh, wow.
That's one thing I like about Erica. She like, I know what I want in my relationship, and I ain't got time for games. And she from my knowledge, she let them know up front where she's going, and she sticks to those guns, and that's the beautiful. Because now the challenge to that is sometimes people don't look that far. But then that's when that's when you have to look at how much of your time you want to invest in getting that person to that place, or growing that person to that place, or pulling that person back and saying, let's walk together so I can get to where you are. That's that whole collaboration piece. That collaboration has to happen even in the marriage now. We still have to collaborate because sickness, health, where we are mentally, physically, socially, things going on in our lives, both people shaking and baking, making stuff happen. You still got to collaborate and say, okay, I'm, and sometimes you can't collaborate. You just got to be there. Mama want to have sex tonight and you don't want to have sex tonight. You want to have sex tonight. She don't want to have sex tonight because you're all up in your head because of stuff that's happened at work or something, or she has had a whole traumatic day and you don't know which one, but you don't want to talk about it because you already know. You've already settled it in your mind. You just got a spiritual thing you got going on, and you need to work that out. But instead of, having that collaboration, say, hey, baby, not tonight. I'm sorry. I just got things in my head. But then that collaboration part has to be that understanding where that partner trusts what you're saying and live on that and says, okay, yeah, baby, I got it. Let's just move on. But it can't be an every night thing. You can't have a headache every night.
Nope. So Jabril, I noticed you had your hand up. Let's see. Let's get some feedback.
How do you get this hand up? I
Me.
can't never get this hand up. How you put this hand up?
It's so the hand is available underneath. It depends on the version you have, because it'll either be on the more tab or it should be below like
reactions. So you can go to
response.
reactions.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead on, brother, before you forget.
Well, I'm not gonna forget. I created the framework and I appreciate that. Again, we said confidence, communication, and collaboration. I want for the listeners and Erica and even you, Thomas, I want we all to just do an inventory, a scale to 1 to 10, or you could do a scale to 1 to 5, 5 being the highest or 10 being the highest, or where you are as an individual with confidence. See, a lot of this starts with confidence. Confidence with you knowing who you are and knowing whose you are. You got to see that. Where are we with that? Because that's going to talk about our purpose. When you know your purpose and you're living your purpose, your confidence is on a whole nother level. No one can waver. No distraction can stop you. You don't apologize for being who you are or whose you are. So that's that confidence. And when you have that, it's very attractive. It's going to repel those who shouldn't be around anyway. So don't worry about them. It's going to clear off a lot of clutter. And you'll have your clarity.
Now, that's powerful right there. Boy, you just boy, you stepped into a hornet's nest.
Really?
Woo!
Let me get the rest of it out. Just to start. So that was the first one. I said the confidence.
Okay, keep going.
And the communication, which we all communicate with each other and allow each other our time to say what we have to say in any relationship, even here. And you have to know that. You have to know that with your confidence, you're going to know that what you have to say matters. But with confidence, you don't just speak just to be speaking. You'll know when it's time to give back. I mean, to step back, because I was understanding something when they were talking about being great. Being great doesn't always mean being first. Just like open up the door. If Erica's a woman, your wife is a woman, my wife is a woman, what do? We open the door for them to go what? First. But that's greatness. That's the servant. So having that confidence that you can highlight your wife or your partner, let her go first, because you always know who you are. You're the man. You're that shield. You're the rock. So that's the confidence, the communication, and the collaboration. That's where you work together, and it's a goal, and you communicate on the goals together, and you show your vision. But when you have that confidence and you also walk in it, then everything comes together. But when one of those three is missing, there is going to be some turbulence on that flight, and you don't want that. So again, let's do the inventory. I'm challenging us all on those three things. First, with us, that relationship, or we're already in a relationship, but wonder why is it not working out the way we want. Let's check those three boxes and see where we really are. And let's be real about it. The real Jabril, let me say, just for me, and I'm gonna let you go again, Thomas, I'm fine. I'd say right now, let's just say it's a scale of 1 to 5. Confidence, I would say I'm about a 3. But if we were going to do out of the 10, I'd say it's a 6 or a 7. Why? Because I'm looking at current circumstances and I feel tired and overwhelmed at different times. So right now, it's at maybe a 7. The communication, just because you're communicating doesn't mean that it's always the best form of communication. I'm talking about in my own relationships. We're not going to talk about the past because that's a lot of bones. I'm talking about living flesh that's going on right now. So I don't feel that I've been as loving to my wife based on my own confidence, or feeling as if I'm disappointing myself, my wife, my family, and living up to who I say I am. So I put that burden on me, which translates to the wife, and it can hurt the home. But that's the enemy getting in something that shouldn't be, because I need to go back to the higher power and source. So that's on me, and that's when I'm putting the enemy in shame. I'm not putting my marriage out. I'm telling you what's going on, what's trying to interfere with my marriage. But right now, at this moment, June 2nd, 2024, 7:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no more. So I just said that. Now, the collaboration is when my wife gets home, we get together and we work this out. So those of you who are in a relationship or marriage or thinking about it, you got to constantly do these things. You got to constantly do them. And the people who are already out of your life, like we're talking about in this podcast, yes, they did you a favor because they shouldn't have been in your life anyways. They're over. They're in the past. Those are the old bones. Of course, I didn't rehearse this. This is what's happening in real time right now. And that's what this podcast is about. Real time, live. And this is what I have for you. So there you go. So go ahead, Thomas. I just wanted to get that out there and call out the enemy real quickly before he tries to mess up the rest of my evening. And it's not going to happen.
What?
Amen.
Amen.
Praise his name.
That's confidence. I'm
You know,
even confident now that I shared that.
and that's where confidence is. And right now I'll say I'm a 10 in confidence because I'm driving and I ain't got nobody to talk to, and I ain't got nobody that's gonna tell me nothing because I own my space. Right?
Okay. Love it. Go ahead. 10. Okay. 10,
when I get to a house, I'll be about a one.
Okay.
Just man. But confidence goes and it comes. And you're and I love what you said, that because right now it could be a 10, but something can happen. And then as soon as it happens and conflict comes, then you have to understand where you are in your confidence, especially if it's something that's negative toward you or something that you have been considered accused of, and you're in a have to be because you're like, I didn't do that. However, you believe that I did it. So I can be bold and tell you that's a lie and there ain't no truth in it, da 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 da. But now I need to understand a couple more things before I do that. So now I need to ask, a whole bunch of questions. So, but confidence changes, and it should, because of the situation. So I would say I maintain around the same, about a 6 on a 1 to 10. Communications, communications is I'll go 5 to 4 on that, because there are a whole lot of things that goes on inside of my life that challenges me to be, totally, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened, because then you have to look at the space that person's in also. Because my daughter's good about, look, I'm not in that space, so I don't even want to talk about it, which I think is wrong a lot of times. But the challenge that we have is that we have to be, even if we're not in that space with our partner, with the person that we're communicating with, we have to be able to get into a space where we can at least receive what is going on. We might not be able to comprehend or be able to respond, but be able to receive. That makes sense?
Yes.
Take it, receive it. And just like you said, I love it. You said, you ain't got to be the first to say something. So be able to receive, though. Just receive it. And then, go back and chew on it. Do like old cow with a cud. Eat the grass now and go back and chew it later. And then, digest it. And so that's why I say I'm about a 4 or 5. Then the collaboration, I'll again say that changes as a situation, because with collaboration, it takes 2 to tango, and you have to make sure that both partners are ready to go after what it is. We can do it alone, but then where is the partnership, and where do you leave a partner in that? And I'm guilty of. I'll be the first one to say I'll go squirrel. I'll go squirreling in a minute, and then I'll come back to, oh, babe, I'm sorry, I was chasing a squirrel. Oh, hey, honey.
Who's the squirrel?
So what now?
Who's the squirrel? That's your pet.
Anything.
Oh.
Anything.
Oh. Okay. All right.
So the squirrel is that, the squirrel is that thing that shows up and you're like, oh, yeah. And you go and do that even in the midst of something that you and your wife supposed to be doing. I'm good about that. And then she's sitting there like, well, I thought we were, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I saw this and I need to get that done. I saw an opportunity, or I saw a good deal and I needed to make sure we got it now. And she's like, that ain't what we talking about. That ain't what we doing. Let's get what we doing. And I'm like, okay. But so you got to put your blinders on sometimes in collaboration so that you can stay focused on where you're going and where you're at. Just like you said, don't worry about where you've been. Worry about where you're at and where you're going, because and put your blinders on it, and so that you can actually stay focused in that collaboration piece, and you can be there for your partner. That's mentally, physically, and spiritually. And in collaboration, that's where we have to look at all three aspects of it: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. Because, that old who used to sing that song? Shirley Murdoch. Your body's here with me, but your mind is on the other side of town. Yeah, I'm dating myself now.
As,
Yeah.
that's what
I
as,
was like,
as
yeah,
life,
we're not,
that
we're
as
not
life,
there.
Yeah,
as
Oh
life,
yeah.
right?
But
it might be.
Well,
I think
as
what we don't want
yeah,
to miss, right? So even though you're not in those relationships anymore, and you don't have to dwell so much on, I like what you said in terms of not bringing that baggage to the relationship, and not being afraid to at least address when things look like situations you've been in before that didn't work out so well, or not making prejudgments that they, oh, okay, you did this. My ex used to do this, and every time he did this, that made me remember or feel this way. Like that's not that person's burden. So just kind of being able to be open and transparent about it. But also, the number one thing is before you move on, taking accountability for the things that you did wrong or things that you need to work on, character flaw department, so that you don't bring those issues with it, because everything was not your ex's fault. And
Amen.
everything that happened in that relationship wasn't only because of your ex, so that takes some accountability. Normally you'll hear it repeated that time, like, why do you do that? Or why so for me personally, I always never let people get away with generalizations, right? So like, you always, that's not definitive. Help me out, help me understand what it is that you're saying to me. Like something that I told Dr. Jabril one time with this guy that I was dating. I was like, my exes would say, oh, you're so selfish and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, yeah, no, I don't see that, because I know what I did in the relationship and for the person, but I needed to understand, like, why do they say this? But that was more character flaw of them not wanting to be transparent about whatever they were feeling or thinking, not knowing that I wanted and needed the information. So I didn't really take it from them because it was too general. So when I found myself in this situation with this new guy, he never used those words. What he said is, I know that you wanted everything to be perfect. And I know that in this one situation, and I know that, you were thinking this could be this way. He said, but did you take the time to consider that I would want more time? Like, he was wanting me to stay and spend more time with him. So he said to me, well, what do you have going on tomorrow? Or like, what do you have to do? Like, what's on your schedule? And I was like, oh, my mom and my sister and I were going to the movies. Okay, so what time you getting up in the morning? I'm like, okay, I'm thinking I'm getting up about 8 or 9 o'clock. Okay, well, what time is your flight leave? Because I was in, another city. And I'm saying this. And he was like, that sounds like all these things that you could reschedule. So he was inferring, he was trying to let it be my choice to kind of decide. But when we had the conversation, I was like, listen, generalizations will never get me where you want me to be. It would have been just as simple for you to say, babe, I want to spend more time with you. Do you think that you can just, reschedule your flight so you leave like tomorrow afternoon? And I was like, I would have got that. And I would have been like, oh, you want to spend more time together? Of course I want to spend more time with you. We don't live in the same state. We don't live in the same city. Of course. But the generalizations, right? Sometimes that just means confronting. I told a friend of mine recently, I was like, there's never going to be a situation that I don't confront, and never going to be an issue that I don't address. And you just kind of have to get that way in every area, and definitely in relationships, because that's how people end up getting hurt. Assuming things. Assuming that they don't want to spend time with you, or assuming that they know, well, that I like this, or And how do they know that exactly? Did you have a conversation about that? Did you sit and tell them about that? Like, how are they supposed to? So a lot of times things happen in relationships that don't even have to take place if people would just sit and have a conversation to know. Now, it's one thing to know, like once you know and the person breaks it down, presents it, understands it, for you to go and do it anyway, now you're at an insult to injury. I'd rather you be up straight up and say, well, I heard what you said and I get it. I understand that's your perspective. That's your opinion. I don't do it while those things. And I'm going to need you to grow in that area because I'm probably not going to make a change in that area. So at least tell me that. And I can decide if that's a non-negotiable for me. So just being honest, being forthright, being transparent, the communication, collaboration, saying, okay, I get that we're not going to sit here and talk about our exes and what were the failures of our relationship. But what I want to tell you right now in this beginning of this first 2-3 dates right now, where it looks like we might be going somewhere, these are my non-negotiables because we will not be wasting time. At least tell me that. Your mind is, like I think I told Colonel Harrington this recently. I was like trying to figure out what were the perfect questions that I could ask in a date that could hit all my boxes without even deciding to invest more time, invest any energy. Was, what have you been praying for to God about in a wife? It's going to give me a whole lot of answers without getting very deep. This man says, oh, I would have already known if he's never been married. So if he says, well, I wasn't even thinking about marriage, or like, I was thinking about maybe I get married in a few years, something, that timeline doesn't work, or the situation doesn't work, or the way he answers tells me everything that I need to know. Ladies, there's no persuasion necessary. If the man, this is the thing about men that I have learned and have come to know, they are very simple. How they tell it to you the first time is actually what they mean. They're not going to change their mind. You can't convince them, can't persuade them. 5 years, after 5 years, you're going to have kids. Whatever they said, that's what they meant. That's how they feel. That's what they're thinking. So, collaboration, that's what it's going to take. Nancy Sarrington, what you think about it?
Well, you were asking me, or you were asking Thomas?
Yes.
You
She said evangelist.
Yes.
She said evangelist.
I kind of come in on this, and I'm kind of listening, and I'm trying to figure out where things are. But the last bit of
Jabril,
your statement,
answer your question. Ask her your question that you asked us.
You're on mute, Jabril.
Right. How you doing, Evangelist Harrington? Right. The
Hi.
question was, we had three things that we were talking about.
Okay.
We broke them in a framework of C's. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, where is your confidence in a relationship or yourself? The second one would be your communication, a scale of 1 to 10, and your collaboration, how you collaborate with Thomas. So
Oh, he gonna throw Thomas in there.
well, I just want to give her a directive
Oh, wow.
that way. So so the first C would be your confidence. What is your confidence in you from a scale of 1 to 10?
My confidence in me,
Yes.
pertaining to a relationship.
Yes.
That's a good one. That's a real good one.
It's good to know this.
That's a real good question, because the whole thing is that I have, over the years, I have learned that my confidence is not necessarily in me, but I allow my confidence to be in the choice that God has made for me.
Okay. All right. So what would that be? So how would you quantify that?
So in that particular case, my confidence in God is 100, is a 10. My confidence in him is a 10. Without going in through a lot of different things, he has shown me some things that, and I haven't even told my husband about this. But God revealed to me certain things prior to us even getting together that he was um eventually he was my mate. But those things weren't necessarily, I didn't know them at the time, but as our relationship went on and we did different things together and we lived various places, then those things were revealed to me that he was the one. So then in that particular sense, in as far as my confidence in that, like I said, I was like, okay, God, all right, I got you. I mean, at the point, it was strengthening my relationship with God that then put my relationship with my husband. Now, the one thing that I wanted to say real quick before I forget is that some of the things that Erica said when she was talking about what, granted, yes, a lot of times I have noticed that not just with him, but with other men, that a lot of times the first thing out of your mouth is truly what you mean. You might turn around and you might try to change it once you see another person's reaction to it, but normally the first thing out of your mouth is the same. But Erica, I'm gonna let you know that my husband, when he turned around and told me what his life plans were, what he planned to do for himself, I was nowhere in that. Even at the time that he said his time frame for when he wanted to get married and when he wanted to have kids, that time frame was totally off. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
about
remember
five,
that
10 years.
about 5-10 years. Yeah, he wanted to get married in like 5 years, and we got married in a year. He wanted to have kids maybe 5 years after that, so that's a 10-year time frame, and we had our first within our first year of marriage. So his time frame was totally off. But
And I'm gonna throw this out there. I know it's your time, but I'm gonna just throw this out here. And I tell people this, and they be looking at me like I'm crazy. Is in within the first couple of months that we started dating, and we were talking about some things, and I was like, "There ain't no way in hell I'm gonna marry you." And she laughed at me, and she laughed at me because she was like, "Yeah, okay." But that's no, but I just want to throw that in there too. But
yeah. I mean that's why I have to totally I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, um, I think men have a plan as well as women. We have a plan, but it's not etched in stone. It's not concrete. It is flexible depending on the situation that happened. Um, so what were the other two C's?
Sure. The other C is communication. Just real quickly, it's not just say one thing. You don't have to explain it because
Oh, okay.
we're about to
Communication.
conclude.
Our communication is the pits. We're still working on that 30 years later. So
Well, so pits,
so
so that's the one number numerically between 1 and 10. What would that be?
1 in 10, it might be a 4, 3 or
Okay.
4.
He had something similar. So I don't, well, Thomas, I think you ranked it a little higher, and that's good. That means he's saying he needs to do more and he's doing more. I love it. So great kudos to Thomas. But I'm going to tell you one thing. You've been together for what, 30 years?
Right.
That communication to me is the doing communication that you haven't given up. So I would give you just by staying faithful, because that's the only requirement. Bible, God looks at the man as to be faithful, and he's doing that. So whether you communicate or not, he's still being there, and you still willing to allow Thomas to lead by trusting God is amazing. So I would beg the difference, say about a 6 or a 7, and just speak and walk in that. You can't stay 30 years and be a 5. It's impossible. So you need to give yourself more credit, both of you, and look at you both on Sunday on a podcast as one. And I believe that's beautiful. I see that as beautiful. So
don't make me cry.
Oh my God.
6 or 7. I'm the real Dr. Jabril Wilson, and I'm saying it's a 6 or 7. Okay. I talked about my wife openly. She's not here right now. But of course, we're going on 5 years. So whatever motor or battery you're using, it's awesome. And a lot of people need to have a dosage of that. All right.
And it goes back to just like you said, trusting God. And
There you
she
go.
says that most, when we get to that heated moment of conflict and we don't want to be there, she like, I'm giving you to God right now because I ain't dealing with this. He brought you here.
All right.
And I do the same. It's like, God, this is yours. She yours. This is the
So
wife you gave. I go back and do Adam. This that wife you gave me, God.
right? So don't let the
Yeah.
serpent get between you guys. And I tell you
Yeah.
what,
That's
so
it.
the
That's it.
last one is collaboration. So don't go low on it, because clearly you have 30 years. You have the confidence in God, no matter what you see or feel between either one of you. So what are we going to give a score between 1 and 10, Evangelist Arrington, for collaboration?
For
Now that
collaboration,
now
again,
that I've-
knowing him and how he goes, I'm going to put, even though you said don't go low, I'll put collaboration at a 5, because there are times we do talk, but then there are a lot of times that plans are made without. I'll just say it. My husband makes plans, and I don't know nothing about it. I used to tell him a lot of times. I used to say, "You talking to that other wife?" I said, "Because you didn't tell me." And he's like, "No, I told you." And I'm like, "No, no, no, no. You didn't tell me. You told the other wife." And I said, that other woman again. Now, lately, that other woman has not appeared. So he's gotten better at that. But every now and then, that she shows up, and I'm like, you must have told the other wife because you didn't tell me. So, but he does, he will make plans and do various things without my knowledge. And then I learn at the very last minute. And so then at that point, I'm like, okay.
It's already done. I understand. So I would, and this will have to be another time or with another topic, but I wonder if you'd ask him, the other wife, what does she do that she gets to know things more or quicker than you? I'm just curious of who this woman, this other woman, where Thomas feels open to share that with and give you the stuff at the last. And it's almost like you have 2 parents. One parent you tell all the time, and then the other parent, they don't really get to know what's going on. I mean, I'm experiencing that right now with my own daughter. So what is it that my ex does, or the way she communicates or receives things, where my daughter will reach out to her and I don't find out till after the fact, after the party.
Yeah.
It's not even the party. I'm not invited. I find out later, and then I get stuck with a bill at the end. That's the only reason.
I say the other wife because he always tells me, but I told you. And I'm like, no, you didn't.
So we will work on that, Thomas, and all of us. We all need to do that better with that second component, the communication, as you said. That's fine.
So,
but the collaboration.
Well, they work hand in hand, and I have confidence that Thomas is going to work on that immediately. He's driving to the confidence.
Oh, bro, we've been working on that for 30 years. Well, and it's a work in progress. And that's the beauty of it. It's a work in progress. All of it is a work in progress, because life changes everybody, and we all are going through this life, and we have to stay open and willing to we said, in a relationship is one thing, but in a marriage, you'll say it to death do you part.
Right. And
so you got to work on it.
Right.
You ain't hanging on. You got to stand, because you're hanging on. The world will rip you to pieces. So you got to stand. You got to stand for your marriage. You got to stand for your man and your womanhood. You got to stand for what that marriage means to you. Because if it don't mean enough for you to die for, then you shouldn't be in it.
Amen. Amen. Well, Well, we got a surprise for you. Guess what? Guess what for both of you? Guess what?
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 Next week, 7 days from today. So 30 plus 7 days. Our lovely co-host is going to tell you what's in store for you next week. Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
Oh, so join us next week. We're going to talk about the soft guy error. 50-50 is not 100%.
You don't want to miss that. It's live. We're going to do it live. So
Right.
Say
what's
that
So like,
Oh,
again.
that's
the soft guy error. So the soft guy error right now is it's a reverse situation where you have the modern or the traditional guy would be, as Thomas alluded to earlier, 100% doesn't start until you're in the relationship because people invest too much. Now the young men, the young brothers are like, you know what? We're not going to be used. We're not paying for all the meals. We're not paying for all the dinners. We're not paying bills. We're not doing any of that. You got your 50-50 situation. They're not doing it. So they're in revolts and they're boycotting the whole traditional male provider role. But it's gonna be great
Okay,
because
that's gonna be interesting because I don't think it's all male. But
oh no, it's not all of
Okay.
them, but it's this new guy, it's that new age millennial
error?
perspective.
It's an entitlement thing.
yeah.
And I'll say this last, and I hope that this will make you feel even greater and better the way you really are, Thomas. You always show up. But I'm gonna say these 3 key things about apologizing. And I want you to be open, Evangelist Arrington, and all women out here for when a man apologizes, the difference of a man and a male. When you apologize when you're wrong, that means you're honest. When you apologize when you're not sure, that means you're wise. But when you apologize, even when you are right, you're a husband.
I like
I like
it.
it.
All right. That's my takeaway from it. And that's not my own, that's from a great wise man. But I need those great people in my life, just like a Thomas.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time. We appreciate you. And we'll see you next week. That's what I'm hoping and praying. So let's have
Amen.
an amazing week with confidence, communication, and collaboration. See you soon.
Okay. Take care.